there, I wanted to talk to you about some of the body handling and facial touching and that kind of a thing that you were wondering about with this little cute puppy. So I wanted to tell you about kind of the progression that you might begin. The first piece is going to be, you know Pavlov's dogs, and you know about connecting, some kind of a stimulus with something that's really good. That's just your basic classical conditioning. So in this case, I'm taking food, and at the same time as the food, I'm touching the face. Okay, and you might touch all the places that a vet or a groomer might touch. So again, I've got the food in my hand, and I'm touching ears. Good job. I'm lifting, oop, I dropped one. I'm lifting lips, yes. Lifting lips, as a vet might do when they examine the puppy. Lifting paws. You can see it's a little tricky, but again, I'm just rubbing those paws, getting her used to having those handled, but I'm doing that at the same time that she's eating. This is classical conditioning. And you're just pairing those two things together. So this is kind of how I will start. And I would probably, when you have her home, I would probably do this. The majority is going to be this to start with. Like you might spend a whole 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks is too much, but a whole week maybe of this. The food and the touching all at the same time. Rubbing nose, face, all that. The next step is going to be operant conditioning, where she's actually being rewarded for something that she allows. So, for example, I'm going to not have the treat happen at the same time. So, for example, maybe I'm looking for, hey girl, I'm looking for just a face touch. And you can see, it's too early. She's avoiding my touch right now because it's too early. I haven't built that foundation of the classical conditioning. But I might practice taking away the food for a second. Then comes the treat. So again, I'm rubbing her ear. She seems to want to lie down. There we go. So, yes, I'm feeding her. Maybe touching an ear, and I'll put away the food, and then comes the treat. That would be more operant conditioning, where first comes the behavior. For example, first comes the behavior, the ear touch, then comes the food. Ear touch, then comes the food. Ear touch, then comes the food. Okay, so that's your second step. But spend plenty of time in the beginning doing that basic classical conditioning, doing the two together. And as she gets easier and easier, I'm going to separate those two, maybe a paw touch, then comes the food. Yes, paw touch, then comes the food. But you can see it's a little early for that right now because she's still pulling away her feet, pulling away her face, what have you. Face touch, and the food. Again, you can see those signs of resistance, and I want you to see that so that when you start doing this on your own, you don't want to have that resistance. You want her to have your hand be the predictor of treats. And so you are looking less for resistance, you're actually looking for, oh yay, she's going to touch me, then comes the food. You want that to be so ingrained that treat follows touch, that there's no resistance whatsoever. You can see her kind of pull back. Good girl. But I'm going to pay her anyway. So that's kind of little short primer on classical conditioning, working into operant conditioning, and then we'll build from there. So again, as you're doing these things, you might start, touching ears, touching face, yes. All the places that you might want to touch, that the vet might want to touch, or a groomer. Oh yes, good girl. All right, good deal. All right, thanks so much. Hey there, I wanted to do a little addendum to what we were talking about so that you can see the difference between resistance and just acceptance and consent to be touched. So I'm going to reach out my hand, and she actually is extending her own neck. She just reached out with her nose to touch my hand. She was not drawing away. She was allowing that touch, yes. Oh, there's a little movement backward. But I'm looking, oh, very nice. I kind of look at that little down as a bit of acceptance. Yeah, good job, very nice. So that to me looked like consent. You know, you're kind of looking for that body language which says, okay, touch me some more. That last one that I just did looked like a little bit of resistance. So you can see her kind of wince and kind of move away. Yeah, so you can see her move back, her head is back, the weight of her, you know, her neck is back. She's not super comfortable, but I'm going to feed her for doing that. And now let's see if we can get a little bit of consent. That would be her movement toward me. And I'm not seeing a lot of movement toward me, so I'm just going to wait it out. But what happens in that case is she doesn't get any food. So let's try again. Yes, do you see Heidi? You see Heidi? So this to me looks like a little more, oh, she's got something to look at. This to me looks like a little more, maybe a little more consent. She's obviously interested in the other dog over there. So let's play with this just a little bit. Let's play the game, consent or resistance. Moving my hand there. Isn't that interesting? You see her move her head just a little bit. I'm going to feed her. Putting my hand out. Yes. She actually extended her neck just there. Her nose touched my hand. So that to me looks like, okay, you can do a little more. Yes. Nose touches. I like that. Again, that's her extending her neck my way, which says, okay, I'm okay with that. She's not pulling back and retracting. I'm going to touch a paw. She doesn't seem to be moving her paw away, so I'm going to take that as consent. Good job. Going to move the other, touch the other paw. No big deal. She gets fed. You know that you're making progress when you do something and then she looks to you like, okay, you did that thing, now you should feed me. So now I'm going to extend my hand. She kind of lifted up her head, which to me was like, nope, not really interested. So again, I'm going to put my hand up there. Well, I'll wait till she's finished eating. She's kind of tired of the kibble. I'm going to kind of surprise her. I'm going to touch her again. Meh. Still, you can see her pull back just a little bit. Not crazy about it, but I'm going to feed her. Just be aware of that body language of, you know, her retracting versus her reaching out or, you know, further still eliciting some kind of touch. Because she knows it's always going to result in food. So, and that's, again, that's part of that, what that classical conditioning builds in her, is that immediate, ooh, you're touching me? We're going to have food. But it's not there yet. We'll build that over time. All right, very good. Good girl. Hey there, I just wanted to show you one quick thing, which is I've increased the intensity of the reward. I've given her a better treat here, and it is definitely helpful. So I wanted you to just kind of have an idea what this looks like. Oh yes, that we've upped the ante here a little bit. So now you can see I'm getting less. Of course, she's looking around still. I'm getting a little less resistance because I'm getting some really good food here. There's a little turn away. Yes. But she's going to get better and better as we keep connecting these two things. This is kind of the third level. Well, let's talk about the third level. So first level is, again, classical conditioning, the food and the treat at the same time. Second level is that operant conditioning where a touch results in food. There was a lot of resistance just in that last one that I just showed you, by the way. The third level is when she's actively going to be looking, yes, for that food, and moving her face toward your hand, moving herself toward your hand, because that's brought on the food. It reminds me of a story, you know, I heard a lady speak a while ago. Her name's Susan Friedman, and she works with a lot of zoo animals and birds in particular. And she was talking about a bird that she had been working with that they were trying to basically work with that bird's response to being sprayed with water in the context of bathing. And so again, first level for her was the food and the spraying. Second level was just, you know, teaching the bird essentially to there's a little bit of resistance there. Teaching the bird to, okay, just manage and deal with the water itself. But where she knew she really made a breakthrough was when she would have the little spray, the little stream of water, and the bird was actively moving toward that stream to get sprayed because she knew that the food would follow. So that's the level of willingness that you're trying to accomplish. But it's got to be preceded by those first two levels, the classical and the operant conditioning. Yes. And all that involves just getting that bit of consent so that you avoid that resistance, and that resistance starts to fade away. All right, just what I wanted to mention. Thanks.